Sees its deadliest day yet. 68 more people lost their lives to coronavirus in our state. It pushes the total close to 600 with more than 14,000 confirmed cases. The state got 500,000 tests from South Korea, but those tests started a back and forth between Governor Hogan and the president. Of course, WJZ is live. Mike Hsu with how the governor went on the defense. Mike.
Good morning, Max. Until now, the governor has been careful not to criticize Trump directly. But even now, Hogan made sure to first write the president a thank you letter allowing for Maryland tests bought in South Korea to be processed in federal labs.
The president,
Governor Hogan, he didn't really know.
I'm really not sure what he was upset about.
Hogan's test kit deal put him on the receiving end of a Trump tirade.
No, I don't think he needed to go to South Korea. I think he needed to get a little knowledge would have been helpful. He didn't understand too much about what was going on.
Trump, concerned that Governor Hogan bought 500,000 tests from South Korea, says the governor confused having access to those tests with the ability to process them, as the federal government would provide processing. The governor went on national media tour to defend himself.
Somehow I think he got confused in the press conference. Somehow it went off the rails yesterday in that press conference, but I have no idea why.
Hogan goes a step further, criticizing the president for encouraging protests to reopen states, including Maryland.
It doesn't make any sense, the mixed messaging we're getting out of the president.
This political spat aside, COVID-19 is still hitting Maryland hard. Yesterday, the deadliest yet, with 68 lives lost. And for the first time, the Department of Health released more detailed info on hospitalizations. Hogan says these are the numbers he's most closely watching. Right now, 1,433 remain in hospitals, while strike teams are responding to a surge of cases in nursing homes, including 85 at Regency Care in Silver Spring and 12 at the Spring Grove Psychiatric Hospital in Catonsville. Hogan says it is not yet time to reopen the state.
The president's own plan says you can't even begin to think about phase one until you have a downward trend.
A new University of Maryland poll shows that most people believe that it will not be safe to gather in groups of 10 or more until at least the end of May. I'm Mike Hsu reporting live for WJZ.
New this morning, cases of the coronavirus in Hartford County long-term care facilities. Bel Air Health and Rehab Center has 3 residents who tested positive. 2 are being cared for at the center. 1 is in the hospital. And the Forest Hill Health and Rehab Center has 5 residents and 5 staff testing positive. 2 are being treated at the hospital. Both centers are following CDC safety guidelines. Of course, there's been a 21% increase in the number of COVID-19 cases in Baltimore City. WJZ is live. Amy Kawada tells us more about the coronavirus fight here and why Mayor Young was interrupted by protesters. Amy.
Good morning, Max. The city announced its second testing site at the Rollins Conservatory in Druid Hill Park, and the mayor says they're going to announce its third one. It's on its way. Now, in the middle of yesterday's announcement, Mayor Young was interrupted by a group of protesters who are advocating for better protection against COVID-19 for the city's homeless population. There are at least 1,542 confirmed cases of coronavirus in the city of Baltimore. As Mayor Young announced the latest community testing site to open in Druid Hill Park on Tuesday, several protesters with the group Housing Our Neighbors took over, honking their horns, asking Mayor Young to give more attention to those experiencing homelessness in the city.
These people are in shelters and encampments are dying.
In response, the city says it's relocated 160 seniors to hotels and motels in the area, in addition to creating a much larger shelter facility to accommodate social distancing. The city also mentioned the expansion of its food distribution to provide a total 2.5 million meals, 70,000 grocery boxes, and up to 12,000 household grocery supplements over the next 2 months. The city's chief financial officer says the city is reporting a current year-end shortfall of about $42 million, and it's looking to the government for help.
What we don't want to do is use the city's budget stabilization reserve, commonly known as the rainy day fund, to fund these activities that can and should be funded through other federal sources.
And the chief financial officer says the city applied for funding through the Federal CARE Act and is hoping to receive that by this week. He also says they're committed to avoiding any layoffs. Reporting live from City Hall this morning, Amy Kawada for WJZ.
The Housing Authority has launched a new public awareness campaign. Everybody at Risk is meant to inform residents about the importance of social distancing. Residents will notice yard signs throughout the communities to remind people to stay at least 6 feet apart. Baltimore's infection rates are higher among communities of color and the elderly. The head of the CDC has a new warning about the next wave of the coronavirus. The number of deaths here in the U.S. passes 45,000, with more than 800,000 cases across the country. Of course, many are debating when it will be safe to reopen the economy. CDC head Robert Redfield fears the country's return to normal won't last more than a few months. He tells the Washington Post he thinks the virus could return next winter with a second wave. It could be even deadlier because it would coincide with flu season.
I don't know if it will be worse. I think this has been pretty bad. I believe that we'll have early warning signals, both from our surveillance that we've been talking about on the vulnerable populations. We're going to continue that surveillance from now all the way through the fall to be able to give us that early warning signal.
Several southern states have already started to relax anti-coronavirus restrictions while keeping social distancing rules in place. In Georgia, facilities like gyms, tattoo parlors, and bowling alleys can open back up starting Friday. An Egyptian military plane filled with medical supplies from Maryland arrived at Joint Base Andrews yesterday. The Egyptian government sent the masks, gowns, and other personal protective material to support our country as we combat the virus. The Egyptian ambassador to the U.S. and other staff greeted the arriving Egyptian crew when the plane arrived. Area public schools are racing to get their students what they need in an effort to keep the learning going despite the distance. Now, some students are now falling behind in what's become known as the homework gap. They don't have access to the internet and can't access virtual classrooms. Public schools are giving out thousands of laptops and Wi-Fi hotspots, knowing full well they're needed more than a paper and pencil.
This challenge is even greater than it was before.
It is becoming painfully clear now that not every child is connected. Fix the homework gap, make it happen, and leave no child offline.
Some teachers in Baltimore City are even working directly with companies like Comcast to negotiate connectivity deals with their students, knowing many families are having to make the tough decision of having to pay for food over the internet. Colleges and universities across the state are finishing the semester online, but Morgan State is already looking ahead to the fall. All summer sessions will now happen online. Morgan's president says it's now established 3 planning models to prepare for the fall, and there's now a committee to look at perfecting remote construction in case it's needed come September. Of course, WJZ has everything you need to know. Just go to WJZ.com. Click on Top Stories for a list of resources. You can find the most important links and numbers under Quick Links.